All around the world we're telling stories. All around the world we're saying once upon a time.
Hi campers, my name is Dana and I am the Education Director for Sparkler Learning. Welcome back to what is going to be our very last week of camp. Now I have to tell you, I've had so much fun sharing stories with you and watching you all play and learn all throughout summer camp. This week, we have a special guest coming to tell us a story. You might not know his face, but you probably know his voice if you've ever listened to our podcast, the Little Kids Big Hearts podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. Yes, that's right, Todd is here. And in addition to being the host of the Little Kids Big Hearts podcast, Todd is a teacher in New York City. And Todd is going to share with us some of the things that he loves about stories, and he's going to share one of his favorite folktales with us. You know, I think I'll let Todd tell you all about it. Here he is.
Hi, my name is Todd Loyd, and I'm a teacher who lives in New York City. I'm also the host of the Little Kids Big Hearts podcast, which is produced by Sparkler Learning. But today, I'm here to talk about one of my most favorite things, stories. Throughout Camp Sparkler, you've been able to hear stories from around the world. I read stories to my 3-year-olds almost every day, and we use them to learn about people, places, ideas, and cultures, all things that surround us in the world. Over the past couple of months, we've explored stories from around the globe, from North and South America, from Asia, from Europe, and from Africa. These stories are different, but they also have similarities. They all include important lessons for the children who listen about working together, being honest, and not judging others. And many explain the world around us, like, how did things get the way that they are? That's a good question. We can tell our own stories too. Our stories can be about the people, places, and ideas that are important to us, and they can grow and change over time just like we grow and change and have new ideas and new experiences. On the Little Kids Big Hearts podcast, we are telling a story about what happens in the magical land of the Kukalakas. It's a place where children go to share their feelings. We've learned about the origin story of the gummy bears that they grow there. We've met Kukalakas and little Kukalikis who are grappling with anger and other big feelings that we all experience. And we've even met the only dragon in the land. I know. I hope you'll listen. It's sometimes hard to tell stories, but it's fun. You can make up characters and even new words that they say and problems that they solve. And telling stories can be a great way to stretch your imaginations and learn together about the world we all live in. I think stories are just magical. Often stories are shared by our grandparents. I loved it when my grandmother would read me a story, and parents with children, which is one important way that new generations learn from their grown-ups. Stories can be entertaining. They can also teach us life lessons and morals. They can inspire us to try something new. I love it when that happens. And sometimes they can even help us to not do something. Stories allow us to learn more about ourselves, our cultures, our ancestors, and our identities. They can also transport us to different places and help us to learn about other people and what's important to them. Stories can connect us and bring people together across geographies, cultures, and generations. To conclude, once upon a time at Camp Sparkler, I'd like to share a story that I love reading to my students. It's a European folktale about people in a town coming together at the urging of a stranger from far away to support each other. The story speaks to me because community is important in schools and in classrooms. And sometimes it's someone new who teaches us the importance of community and inclusiveness. It's also a neat story because it's been told over and over in different ways and in different countries and cultures. Many people have made it their own. And speaking of making it your own, this story is about soup, which people make in all different kinds of ways, just like our stories. We can all come up with our own recipe for soup and our own way of telling stories. And that's part of the magic of stories and soup. So with that, this story is called Stone Soup. I hope you like it. Once upon a time, in a small country village, the weather was too dry and crops could not grow, and there was not enough food for the people to eat. Everyone was hungry and everyone was worried. Because they were hungry and worried, the people hid the little food that they did have and didn't share with anyone, not even their friends or their neighbors. One day, a traveler arrived in the village. And as he walked around, he asked each person he met about finding a place to eat and to sleep for the night. Everyone told him that there wasn't a bite to eat anywhere and advised him to move on to the next village. Oh, I have everything I need. In fact, I thought I could make you some of my delicious stone soup to share. With that, he pulled out a big cooking pot from his wagon. He filled the pot with water and built a fire underneath it. Then he reached into his bag and pulled out a plain gray stone. As the villagers watched, the traveler patted the stone and then dropped it into the water. Well, word traveled fast, and soon the man and his cooking pot were surrounded by curious villagers coming to see the magic stone that made soup. The water began to boil as the traveler stirred and snurred. He sniffed the boiling water, rubbing his belly, licking his lips as if he smelled something delicious. The villagers' stomachs started to rumble. They were hungry. Oh, I do like tasty stone soup. Of course, stone soup with cabbage is even better. Hearing this, a villager ran to their house and found a cabbage that they had hidden in the closet. They ran back, holding the cabbage, shouting, "I have the cabbage from my garden. Could we put it in your soup?" Fantastic! They cut up the cabbage and added it to the pot. You know, once I had stone soup with cabbage and just a little bit of beef, and it was amazing. The butcher said she thought maybe she could find some beef scraps. She ran back to the butcher shop. Other villagers offered bits of vegetables from their own gardens, potatoes, onions, carrots, and celery. Soon, a scrumptious smell filled the air as the big pot of vegetables, beef, and stone simmered. Oh, at last, the soup is ready, and there is enough for everyone. The entire community gathered around a table and enjoyed the stone soup that they had made together, and it was indeed delicious.
Thank you, Todd, for sharing that story, and thanks to you for listening. Now, it's going to be your turn to tell the stories, and I cannot wait to find out what you all think will happen once upon a time. Hey podcast listeners, be sure to stay tuned after the credits to hear the full version of our theme song, Once Upon a Time, written and performed by Benjamin Weiner. This episode of Once Upon a Time at Camp Sparkler was produced by Sparkler Learning as a part of Camp Sparkler 2023. Thank you to our storyteller, Todd Loyd, and thank you to Benjamin Weiner, who wrote and performed the song Once Upon a Time for Camp Sparkler. To learn more about Sparkler, or if you have a child 5 and under and you want to play and learn along with us, please visit our website, playsparkler.org/Camp Sparkler 23.